Today we're going to create a split face image, something kind of like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and make a new Photoshop file. So let's go File, New, and wait for this to open up. Okay, so you can set your sizes here. Since it's going to be a portrait, I would probably want to do it portrait. So I have a 8.5 for my width and 11 for my height. So let's go ahead and click Create. Alright, so I already saved these pictures that I use onto my desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, I'm going to Place Embedded, so File, Place Embedded, and then I'll select the pictures from my desktop. So I'll start with my Daniel Radcliffe picture. Alright, so when I put it on there, I can adjust the size here. So I want to kind of fill the space. I'm just going to drag this, fill up my artboard here. And then just hit enter. And now my picture's set. Okay, so now I need my Voldemort picture here. So I'm going to go File, Place Embedded, and then I'll find my Voldemort picture here somewhere. There we go. Ooh, that's tiny. Well, we're going to have to blow that up. So I want to be approximately the same size. So I'm going to check that. Yeah, looks pretty good. Make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, so now I only want half of his face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little rectangle marquee tool. So I'll click on that. And I'm going to drag this over half of his face here. And then while that's selected, I'll just hit delete. Oh, looks like I need to rasterize that first. So if it won't let you edit a picture, it's probably because it's a smart object. So what you need to do to fix that is you just go over to the layer that the picture's on, right click on that layer, and when you right click on that, you scroll down, find rasterize layer, and then rasterize the layer. And then once you rasterize it, it'll let you edit it. Okay, so if you find that a picture says it's a smart object, just go to the layer the picture's on, right click, and then rasterize the layer. You'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control D so I deselect what I have going on there. Okay, so, well, we'll see their faces are kind of lined up. Not quite the way I want them to. So we're going to make some adjustments to better line up the faces and get this as a better arrangement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Edit here at the top, and then I edit, I'll scroll down to Transform. So I go Edit, Transform, and Edit, Transform, and let's go Warp. Edit, Transform, Warp. So it's going to put this box around it. So with the Warp, I can kind of tweak parts of the picture and just kind of push them till they line up the way I want. I mush his mouth up just a little bit. Pull this chin down just a little bit. So I'll try my best to line up the face. Let's move that down just a titch. Okay, so I got his mouth lined up. Maybe I can adjust his nose. Well, his nose is okay. You know, it's all messed up anyway, so it's alright if it's a little bit higher. So then I think got his chin, got his mouth lined up. May push his ear up a little bit. So you might notice as I'm kind of warping these a little bit that some things get moved around. So you might have to come back and just kind of adjust things a little bit here and there as you warp them. I might bring his head up a little bit more too. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I got his chin lined up. Looks like his head, probably if he had hair, would be lined up a little bit better. The ears are lined up a little bit better. I don't know, maybe I might move his eye down a little bit. I'm going to move this mouth back up. Okay, so now I've adjusted the eyes so they're pretty level, the head's pretty level, the ears are pretty level, mouth, chin, everything looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And there, now I got his face lined up. So to make this a little more cohesive, what I want to do is maybe get rid of this background area because you know, over here on the side it's all white, but on this side, you know, there's more of a picture there. So what I'm going to use, we have, it's called a magic wand tool. There's also the quick selection tool. So when I click and hold on this, got my quick selection tool, I've got my magic wand tool. I think what I'll use is my quick selection tool. And you can adjust the size of that here at the top. Might make this a little bit bigger because I got a lot of space to cover. Okay, now let's take this and I can drag it over some of this area back here. Just kind of click and drag. So as I do that, I might have grabbed a little bit more than what I wanted. So I got part of his head right here. I don't want to get it part of his head. I just want the background. So if you ever grab too much, just hold your Alt key, and that'll. So you see, maybe if you look at that little circle, it goes from a plus to a minus when I hold the Alt key. So when I hold the Alt key, it'll deselect some of the stuff that I grabbed. So I'll just go right up to the edge. Deselect a little bit of stuff, like the ear here. Whoops, I didn't want to get the top of his ear. I'm gonna have to come in and get in there a little bit closer. Okay. Okay, so now I've got pretty good selection of his background here, and from there I'll just hit delete, backspace, remove that. Alright, I'll deselect. Okay, so now you can see, you know, part of the Daniel Radcliffe behind him. I don't want to see that. I want the heads to line up and only be a half face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my Harry Potter layer, as you can only work on the layer that's selected. So if you're trying to edit something, you're like, it's not doing anything, make sure you're on the right layer. As with Photoshop, you can only edit the layer that you're actually on, that you actually have selected. So I'm going to have to select my Harry Potter layer, and I'm going to use my clone stamp tool. Okay, so this little tool here, so when I click on it, so you've got clone stamp tool, pattern stamp tool. We want the clone stamp tool. Okay, so this tool right here. Alright, it looks like I might have to rasterize this layer too. So I'm going to right click on this layer, and I'm going to rasterize that layer. Okay, so with your clone stamp tool, you can adjust the size of that as well. Also the hardness. For this, I want it to be, you know, pretty soft because I don't want a hard eraser edge. So I'm going to keep my hardness at 0. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with the clone stamp tool, if you hold the Alt key, it's going to pick a destination or a point that you want to copy from. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and then click on this background part. Okay, I'll come over here and then I'll start to cover up his head here. So I'm going to go back up to the top, hold my Alt key to select the background again, and cover that up. Go back up here, hit the Alt key, select from here, and then cover up all this area. Hit the Alt key, cover that up. Okay, so I'm not erasing, I'm just covering it with the background and my clone stamp tool. So let's come over here, cover that up. And looks like I got part of his collar there, so we'll cover that up as well. Alright. So we got that. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go back to this Voldemort layer, and I want to maybe bring his neck down a little bit. So I'm going to go up to Filter. And under Filter, I'm going to choose Liquify. Filter, Liquify. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to maybe drag, well, maybe I'm going to increase the size of that. Well, maybe not that much. And I'm going to drag this down a little bit. Drag this collar down a little bit. Just to help to line up the collars a little more in the picture here. Just that a little bit. Alright, I'll click OK. Alright, so that brought that down a little bit more. Well, maybe I'll do that again. Let's go Liquify. I'm going to pull down his cloak here, stretch that out. Let's go ahead and click OK. And you know what? I think there's a little bit more. I don't think that's part of his clothes. I think that's part of the background. So I'm going to deselect that and delete that. There you go. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now I'm going to crop this picture a little bit because I want to cut off maybe the top of their head and down here a little bit because I want them to match up a little bit better. So I'll select my crop tool. So when I hover over this little tool right here, and I'm going to bring that down a little bit, and I'll bring this up a little bit. Maybe I'll close it in a little bit too, since I'm shrinking the whole picture. Let's hit enter. Okay, there. Now let's cut that off and unite it a little bit nicer together. Okay, so now I want to run some filters over these pictures to make time together a little bit more. So before I can run any filters over, I'm going to merge these layers together. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up to Image, scroll down to Mode, and see it's selected RGB color. I'm going to switch that to CMYK color. So go Image Mode, CMYK color. And when I do that, it asks me if I want to flatten it. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it. Okay, so you can see this is all one layer now. But before I can run any filters over it, I need to switch it back to RGB because I can't do anything with the CMYK, so I'll go image mode, and then I'll just switch it back to RGB. Okay, now maybe what I'll do is I might add some color to the background. So what I think I'll do is I'll take my paint bucket and yeah, I'll do some gray. Just kind of fill in this area with gray, and yeah, I want this to seem light versus dark. So maybe I'll just take some. Huh, seem to have erased part of his ear somehow. I have to take. Oh no, it's still there. So what I might do is I'm going to take my quick selection tool, drag it over this background area, and I'm going to hold my Alt key to deselect his ear and his hair, his face. Okay, now I'll take my paint bucket and fill that in so then it doesn't fill in his face as well. Okay, so I'll hit Control D to deselect. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. So we got the light and the dark. So now run some filters over this. So go up to Filter, go into my filter gallery, and your filter gallery, let me zoom out a little bit so I can see this picture a little bit. You've got some different filters to choose from. One that I like to use is this cutout. It kind of stylizes it a little bit and makes it a little more blocky. So let's see. Maybe I don't want to make that too simplistic. Actually, maybe what I want to do is maybe use my paintbrush. So I'll go filter, stylize, and use the oil paint. And let's try that one a little bit. Zoom out there. Brush this over a little bit. So I'll scroll these over, and this will give it a little bit more of a painterly look. Let's go ahead and click OK. Alright, so you see it kind of smooth things out a little bit. Alright, so maybe I'll go back to my filter gallery. And I'm going to try some of these filters. So I got this fresco. Ooh, that's too dark. No, I don't like that one. What was that one? Dry brush. Well, let's try the cutout again. So it made them really yellow. Ooh, edge simplicity. Yeah, you don't want to make it that simple. Let's go edge fidelity. So you can see these different options. Do different things to it. Well, maybe I'll go with watercolor. Let's go ahead and click OK. And you know what? I'm going to maybe adjust the color. So I'm going to go Image, Adjustment, Color Balance. So this looks kind of yellowy, so I'm going to adjust the colors a little bit so it's not quite so yellow. So you can do that with the midtones, shadows. and highlights. I'll go ahead and click OK. You can also adjust brightness and contrast. So if I go image, adjustment, brightness and contrast, I might well, maybe I don't want to brighten up too much, but add some more contrast. A little more contrast. OK. And now I'm going to go back to my filter gallery. And let's try this cutout now. Yeah, that looks better. And so I'll go ahead and click OK. Okay, so now, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Ties together pretty well. And we'll go ahead and call that good for this particular image. So anyway, go ahead and try creating this picture in Photoshop. If you can't do the actual Photoshop project, just write down some of the steps and instructions that are required in order for you to create this image, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Alright, if you've got questions, concerns, let me know, and we'll talk to you later, guys. Okay?